أما بعد. We frequently read and hear about all those acts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and all those ways that we can get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the ways that we can get Allah to accept us and we can get close to Him very, very quickly is through the way that we treat other people. The Prophet ﷺ tells us that a Muslim is someone who looks out for others. And a Muslim is someone who saves others from difficulty, from loss, and is there for someone who is in need. Like in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says that من نفس عن مؤمن أو مسلم كربة من كرب الدنيا نفس الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة. A person who removes a problem, helps solve a problem, remove a difficulty in this world for someone else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate him by removing his difficulties on the Day of Judgment. من ستر مسلما ستره الله في الدنيا والآخرة. A person who conceals the faults of someone, then Allah will conceal his faults in dunya and in akhirah. On the Day of Judgment, everyone's faults will become exposed. And their faults, which could be their bad deeds, their sins, their mistakes, they will be visible to everyone. People won't have to read their book of deeds. People will see that sin on that person's face. Like some people who will have committed lots of sins, they will come with their faces black with sin on the Day of Judgment. No light on their face, and everyone will recognize them through that blackness that this is a person carrying the burden of their sins. Those people who betrayed other people, for example, they took their things without permission, they took things without having the right to, they'll be carrying those things on their shoulders on the Day of Judgment. And those people who were two-faced, for example, they'll be raised on the Day of Judgment with two actual faces. And one hadith mentions they'll have two tongues, because they used to show one face to one group of people, show another face to another group of people. So they will actually be raised like that on the Day of Judgment. Some people will be raised being dragged on their faces. Some people will be raised being insane. They'll be talking nonsense, rubbish. They won't be making any sense, like someone who's insane, even though they were perfectly sane in dunya. Those are the people who used to take interest and consume it. So people's sins will become exposed. But a person who, instead of pointing out other people's mistakes, covers up for them. If they want to advise them, they'll advise them secretly and quietly. So on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will conceal this person's sins. No one will know what sins this person committed. In fact, in one hadith, it's mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call such people behind a curtain, while everyone else's deeds will be weighed and accounted for in front of the rest of mankind. Some people will be called behind a curtain, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show them their sins, and the person will confess, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will count this person's sins. Look, you did this and this and this, and he will say, yes, I did this, I did this, I did this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask that, did I expose you for these sins in dunya? So he will say, no, you didn't expose me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, look, then don't expect from me that I'm going to expose you here in front of all of mankind. These were the people who kept people's mistakes private. They didn't expose others. So on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to expose them. He will allow them to be covered and protected from the eyes of other people. So how we look after each other, how we treat each other, has a great deal to do with how we are treated. How we are treated by Allah and how we are treated by others. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman. Those who have compassion and mercy for others, then Ar-Rahman, the one who is the most compassionate, the most merciful, He will have mercy on them. And then He says, Irhamu man fil ard, yarhamkum man fis sama. Show compassion, show mercy, show kindness to those in this world, to those on this earth, and the one in the heavens will show mercy to you. Of course, your mercy is very limited, it is very small. There's only so much you can do with your mercy and your compassion, but Allah's mercy knows no bounds. In one hadith, it's mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called a person and took him to account after he died and asked him, what good deeds have you brought? He said, I can't think of any. All I've done is commit mistakes and sins. But yeah, there's one thing that I can think of, and that is I used to do business. I was a businessman, and I used to deal with people taking money, giving merchandise. Sometimes a person wouldn't be able to pay me the whole amount right away, and they needed some time. So if they asked for time, I would say, it's okay, I'll give you a few more days. And sometimes a person, after making all their efforts, would not have enough money to pay me at all. So I would let them go, I would just forgive them. I would go easy on those people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that if you can do that with people in your capacity as a businessman, if you can do that for people in dunya, then I am more worthy of doing this here in akhirah. Of course, you don't have enough good deeds to enter into Jannah. You don't have enough deeds, hasanat, to pay your way. But it's okay, I'm going to let you go, because you let other people go in dunya. The Prophet ﷺ talks about a person who didn't have too many good deeds, but as he was walking one day, he saw that there's this tree that's growing out and it's cutting off the path of people. So he said, everyone who walks by is going to be disturbed. People are going to stumble and fall. So he cut those branches. He trimmed that tree down so that people could walk on that path. This one act was so beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah pardoned all his sins and entered him into Jannah because of this. In one hadith it's mentioned that a person saw a thorn lying on the footpath. And so he said, oh, someone could prick themselves on it. If somebody steps on it, it's going to hurt them. He removed it. And because of that one simple act that he did for just in consideration for other people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardoned his sins. You've all heard the hadith of a woman, a sinful woman, who came to get water at a well, and there she found a dog. The dog was extremely thirsty. It was so thirsty it was licking the ground. And it looked like it had become so weak it wasn't going to make it. So she didn't even have a bucket or anything. She took off her shoe and filled her shoe with water and gave some to the dog. And because of that water that she gave to the dog survived. So because of this act of kindness, this act of compassion that she did for another creature, not even for a human being, but for a dog, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liked this so much that He pardoned her whole life of sins. The Prophet ﷺ told his companions that everyone must give sadaqah every day. Sahaba radiallahu anhu said, O Prophet of Allah, not all of us can give sadaqah every day. We can't all give charity. We don't have that much wealth. So the Prophet ﷺ explained to them that there are so many different ways of charity. Telling someone, reminding someone to do the right thing is an act of charity. Asking someone to refrain from doing something bad, this is an act of charity. Helping someone along the way. For example, helping someone carry their luggage, carry their groceries, carry something that they need a little bit of help in. This is an act of sadaqah. A blind person who can't see, you help them along their way, you become their eyes for them, just for a little while. This is an act of sadaqah. Someone is trying to build something or repair something, but they can't do it properly. You go and help them. You have the skill to fix that thing or to help them fix that thing, and it works out for them. This is an act of sadaqah. Removing something harmful from the path of people, this is an act of sadaqah. Sahaba radiallahu anhum said that, O Prophet of Allah, what if someone can't do any of those? Let's just say there's a person who can't find any opportunity to do a good deed, or maybe they're not creative enough, or they're not really looking for opportunities. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, then the least this person can do is not disturb others. Not cause a disturbance to others. This is also an act of sadaqah. To not cause disruption, to not cause distraction, to not bother or annoy or disturb the people around us. This is also a charitable act in the sight of Allah. In one hadith it's mentioned that meeting your brother with a smile is an act of sadaqah. It goes on and on and on. In fact, if we start counting all of those deeds that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has deemed as sadaqah, there are so many. And all of them have to do with the way we treat others. Something we did for another person. In one hadith, it's mentioned that a person who sees someone's reputation being attacked, the person isn't there. The person is not there, but there are a few people in a gathering talking bad about someone behind their back. So this person intervenes and he stands up for that person. Says, no, that person is not like you're saying. They're not a bad person. No, they're not an evil person. No, they're not. You should not make fun of them. He does his best, or she does her best, to stand up for that person, not to gain anything, not so that tomorrow she can go back and say, you know what, I stood up for you. Those people were making fun of you and I defended. Not for that purpose, but just because it was the right thing to do. That person wasn't there, their reputation was being attacked, and the right thing to do was to tell people, hey, step back. So a person who protected the reputation of someone from other people's bad words, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give this person a shield that will protect their flesh and their skin from the fire of Jahannam. And in one hadith it's mentioned that one of the acts that is most beloved to Allah, most pleasing to Allah, is to make your brother happy. Somebody was sad, you made them happy. You did something for someone that cheered them up. To cheer up someone is one of the most beloved acts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One hadith says that if somebody is sad, they're grieving over a loss, they're hurt, they're feeling down, and you go and console them, you make them feel a little bit better, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you all of the reward, the same amount of reward that they got for going through that suffering in the first place. Just like the hadith says that a person who goes and visits a sick person in the morning, thousands of angels make dua for that person until nighttime. And a person who goes and visits a sick person in the evening, thousands of angels make dua for this person till the morning. Why? Because you're showing you care about the people around you. We are an ummah who was taught to care about the people around us, to care about our surroundings. Are the people around us comfortable, or are they becoming uncomfortable because of us? Are we bringing peace and calmness and comfort to where we go, to the environments that we go in, or are we causing a disruption and are we causing discomfort and unease to the people around us? Are we taking care of the needs of the people around us, or are we only just worried about ourselves? This will decide, the way we answer these questions will decide how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats us here in this world and in the akhirah as well. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us those people that are helpful and beneficial to the world around us, that make the world a better place and help people's lives improve, and who help people during their difficulties and hard times and become a source of happiness, a source of joy, and a source of comfort for anyone that we are around. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد